everyone. I got so excited making all those other videos, and I've wanted to make one on my 118 Plymouth off-road runner for quite a long time now. So here we go. What do we got here? We've got a noodle. I think it's a 72 Plymouth GDX. This is basically what this one here started as. What happened is I had a yellow one, and if you know anything about those models, you'll know that particularly I think it's the left side door gets die-cast cancer in. So I got this model, arrived, took it out of the box, opened the door, and it fell off and broke in half. So, you know, I had to do something with it. The model was otherwise wrecked. The person I got it from did send me another one, so you know, no harm done there. We had a good deal, but you know, I was left with this model, and I thought there's a program called Dirt Every Day, and they did, I think it was a 73 Plymouth, and they lifted it up with a big motor in it. So I had that as a video to work on. Check it out if you like that kind of thing. It's pretty awesome. And they put some big wheels on. That one actually had a diesel V8, whereas my one's got the original 340, I think it is, or 440 sitting in there. So what's custom about it? Well, basically, other than the body and half the chassis, pretty much everything else is scratch built. So let's have a look on the underside where the action is. Just going to tip her over. Oops. So I actually haven't quite fixed that little bit there. I lost the drive shaft, so I've put a temporary replacement in, but haven't got around to painting it yet. Pretty much everything in the metal colour you can see is scratch built. In the back here, I've cut parts of all the suspension out, and like as in the 1.1, I've built in these chassis rails under here. So this is not what they call a truggy or a tra, which is a car on top of a truck chassis. This is actually the original monocoque chassis with reinforcing in to do that. The rear suspension has these links here, diff, and all works. I'll show you that later. Front's got the same setup. The steering is a little stiff, but does work. It's actually a hydraulic system they used in that car, so I've used a similar thing. And it's got a transfer box here for the front drive shaft. I think I got that off a Land Cruiser, and a custom exhaust. It is a little crude in some respects, this one, but you know, you can always improve. Just bring it back up so you can see the hydraulic suspension steering system there with the two pipes, and if you can see, it's a little bit tricky to see, but just in here you can see how the chassis rail comes up and into the front of the car with the springs there and the hoop to hold the top of the springs. That was one of the most difficult parts of the build, trying to do that. I've had this travelling to a couple of model shows, and it's had a little bit of wear and tear on it. The doors, I switched to gull-wing. Haven't quite got a mechanism to sort of hold them up, but you can imagine that they sort of sit up like that. Part of the reasoning was it's quite tall, so to get in and out of it, you know, it's quite a big step. I was going to have them sort of climb in Dukes of Hazzard style, but that would actually be quite challenging too. So the door lifts up and you hop in. You can see it's got a roll cage, Dodge Viper seats, you can have a look in there. The cage is quite complex, comes up out of here. It's got a kind of a half cage across there. I'll show you with some cross members and things. What else have we got? The paint is, so this was yellow, and it's still yellow underneath. It's Plasti Dip. Thought I'd give it a try using that. It gives it the kind of quite a rough texture, like it's sort of been weathered, that kind of thing. The bonnet is a little tricky to open sometimes. There we go. Oop. So that one's got the original, I think it's a 440 motor in. Nothing particularly special under the hood. I didn't want to go too crazy in there. In the back it's got a aluminium plate floor, this tyre rack, fuel tank sitting in there, and you'll see these tyres here. They've got bead locks on them. They're actually Dodge Ram rims. With this is a rim off a tyre off a 116 monogram kit truck, and the other tyre for the front wheels is off a lossy microcrawler RC car. So these rims, they each have about 20 of these screws in them. They're actually pin heads. So I had to drill a hole for each one and then pop them all in, and then glue them. There's about an hour or so on each of those, and there's 6 wheels, so that was quite a bit of work. Yeah, and as you have probably already observed, the suspension's fully articulated, so you can pop things under the wheels and it'll flex. A little bit stiffer in the front than in the back, but you can see it's got pretty good articulation on there. That's kind of one of my specialities, doing that kind of thing. Very time consuming, hard to do, but quite effective when you can get it right. So there we go. My Plymouth off-road runner next to its on-road little brother.